Good day, listeners. Welcome to another exciting episode of our program, Principles for Effective Change Leadership on Amogate Radio Communication. I remain your host, Titilola Ogushoni. Well, today we'll be discussing key principles of leading change management. We'll be looking at guiding principles that can help change leaders lead and implement change initiatives. Well, in no particular order of importance, I'll be starting with the first key guiding principle, and that is every change leader must lead with culture. We are going to be looking at the role that culture analysis of an organization plays in effecting change initiatives. Okay, and well, when we look at culture generally, you are speaking to an organizational values, an organizational beliefs, looking at attitude, and importantly, all of these beliefs, values, and attitude I've mentioned influences the behavior of employees in an organization. Okay, now for culture, it could be at various levels. Okay, now some will talk about national culture. Now, national culture, you are looking at cultures across different countries. For instance, the culture in the US might be different from the culture in Germany, for instance. Now, when we speak about culture, we talk about national culture. And what I mean is culture varies across countries. For instance, if we talk about punctuality, as a key concept in talking about the way people are punctual in an organization. Well, punctuality, what it means in the United States might differ from what it means in the culture of the Germans. And what punctuality also means in the African setting. Even in Nigeria, to be specific, might be different from what it means in Ghana. And that's why people came up with the concept of African time. Okay, so you see that culture, the way people believe, the way people behave, the beliefs of the people, the values, what they value could vary across nations. If I can even go, it could be vary across regions. Okay, in a particular country, what you term as being rude in a particular culture might be different from another region in the same culture. So it cuts across. But now we are looking at organizational culture. So you are looking at what makes an organization different. What stands you out from competition? What stands you out from even non-competitive organizations in your region and even outside of your region? I would see culture as the DNA of an organization. So if you are bringing about change initiatives into an organization, you need to be aware of what works in that organization. In fact, it's so important that even within an organization, we have what we call team culture. Okay? Now, it's the same organization. This is the culture in terms of respect, in terms of behavioral competencies, in terms of team bonding, in terms of even dispositions of your people. Now, within an organization, let's say, for instance, those in the finance unit vis-a-vis those in the customer service or marketing unit, the front desk. Okay, let's look at it. Those in the front desk and those even in, let's even say, the engineering unit. Now, those in the front office, the frontliners, are likely to be more cheerful, are likely to be more outspoken, are likely to be more accommodating because that's, they radiate warmth because they interface with the client, directly more than the engineering unit. Now, those engineering units, you might think that they are cold. They are not really cold, but because they do a lot of strategy, a lot of things go down there. So the culture there, might not be as lively like it would be in customer service. So these are the dynamics that are involved in a particular work environment that as a leader, you need to be aware of. Okay? Now, Gessner, remember Gessner when he was chief executive of IBM, and he led one of the most successful business transformation in history. He said something very important. He said culture is everything. Whether you like it or not, there could be emphasis on the business processes, but anytime you are thinking of implementing any change initiative as a leader, you must understand that culture determines everything. In fact, there was this Katzenberg Center survey that was carried out, and it was found that 84% agreed that organizational culture was critical to the success of change management. In fact, 64% also agreed that culture was more critical than strategy or operating model. Interesting. It means that no matter the business strategy that you put on, no matter the business models that you conceptualize, you formulate and you try to deploy. Now, 64% of the people agree that culture was more important than all of those things. Now, I'm not saying that the technicalities, organogram, processes, policy, business, you must identify your cultural resistance and make most use of your cultural support. I'll take it again. Now, in any organization as a leader, you must understand your cultural components. You must understand what makes the people in that organization. You must understand how they communicate, how things work in the organization. In fact, once you understand how it works, then you can proactively look at and dig into what the cultural resistance, the factors that could resist the culture you want to implement that would enable you achieving your goals can be easily identified. Okay? Now, sometimes some change leaders, in leadership positions, always believe that culture is actually a thing of the past, and there will be so much focus. They focus so much energies on the structure. They focus so much energies on reporting lines, and fail to understand the crucial role that culture plays. And for any change leader, I say this: you must optimize your existing culture, while trying to come up with policies, processes when necessary, while modifying when necessary. It's very important. Now, and why you understand culture is that it helps you as a leader to understand the way people think. You must understand the way people walk. You understand the way people behave, and importantly, the emotion that you are going to lead is very, very important. It's one hurdle that every change leader must actually pass. It's one very great hurdle that must actually pass. So thank you. We are joining us. We are speaking to the guiding principles of leading change management, and we have started with leading with culture, and you are speaking to the role that culture plays. So let's take a bit about some basic facts about culture. Now, according to the website of Organizational Culture Assessment, instrument, it was actually developed by two people at the University of Michigan, that's Kim Cameron and Robert Quinn. And one thing they concluded was that a toxic culture can decrease productivity by 40%. That means no matter the business processes, the modus operandi, the strategic plan that you put in place, a culture that is toxic, a culture that people see as being bad, a culture that people perceive as being not welcoming, will decrease productivity by a whole 40%. In fact, the studies went further to state that rude culture would damage productivity with over $14,000 per employee per year. So it means that if you have a culture that is rude, if you have cultural practices within your organization, it will not just inhibit your change initiative, it will also lead to a loss of revenue. Definitely when productivity reduces, definitely your bottom line is affected in terms of revenue, even in terms of your profit margin, and this is a whole lot. Now, we are speaking to toxic culture, but according to this survey that was starting out, so if we look at the figures in terms of revenue that we lost from a toxic and rude culture, we know that this is important for any leader, especially when you are bringing up change initiatives in an organization. You must be careful about creating a productive and effective culture in your organization so that you can create an enabling environment that foster creativity, innovation, employee engagement, and thus increase level of productivity and your bottom line. Now, you've asked so many times, and one thing that has been proven through research is that 70% of mergers and acquisitions that fail, the major reason why they fail is actually based on cultural. So culture has been proven to be the reason more often than not why 70% of all mergers and acquisitions usually fail. So it shows that culture plays a vital role in an organization, especially when you are transitioning from one position, business process to another. Okay, so you come to it. What are those practical steps? So it means that if I want to initiate any change program, so what's the first thing I have to do? I would say it starts from what we call culture audit. So it's important for you as a change leader, as a leader in an organization, for you to make sure that you carry out your culture audit. You know how to carry out the culture audit. And when talking about culture audit, it's actually a process usually conducted internally in an organization because it helps to actually quantify, measure, the workplace culture. So you are deliberately putting in place tools to help you evaluate what the prevailing culture is in your workspace. It reveals so much about how employees, workforce communicate with one another. It reveals the value system of the organization at a particular point in time. Now, most times, what leaders, top management perceive to be culture of an organization, in reality, is not really the culture of the organization. So before you take any as a leader to lead any change process, you better carry out this culture audit for you to know the prevailing attitude, communication pattern, reporting line, how people perceive you, how people relate with one another in an organization is better than you do. And let me tell you what happens when you take out culture audits. It reveals different things. Part of what it reveals to you is your leadership style. The leadership style on paper, the leadership style you have conceptualized as an organization, it reveals how effective the leadership style that you have chosen, how effective that leadership style has been in the organization. It also even reveals the workplace behavior. In fact, it goes further to review your style of communication, how effective your style of communication has been and is still, being in place in the organization. Then again, even for the workplace, when you carry out your culture audit, it delves into areas like people's perception of safety. Do they feel safe in your workspace? Their perception of security. Do they feel secured in your workspace? It speaks to issues like self-esteem. It speaks to issues like actualization, even fulfillment. In fact, it speaks to issues like engagement of your workforce. So culture audit is very, very important. In fact, it goes further to even look at how do others perceive your organization, even your external customers. How does the community, your stakeholder, how do they perceive your organization? And again, it also speaks to you evaluating how effective your incentive programs, how your compensation, your reward program has been in the organization. So it's important that as a leader, you carry out your culture audit to review all of these things. And over time, you realize that some of the merits of carrying out a culture audit are so much. It's like taking the pulse. I call culture audit taking the pulse of the organization to feel what the pulse is. And it helps you to discover more often than not, you discover your cultural challenges. It helps, it points out, it brings out issues, why people are dissatisfied in organization. It speaks to your communication problem. It speaks to your leadership style. So, and interestingly, if you do not measure, if you are not deliberate about measuring, how do you improve? And it's always said that what you do not measure can't be improved. So, and what it does when you carry out a cultural audit is, once you can pinpoint what these challenges are, it helps you to take deliberate measures, to minimize or eradicate these challenges. And what it does for you as an organization is that it helps you to bring strong organizational culture, because you identify your areas of improvement, and it means that because of those areas identified through your culture audits, okay, you can bring up, formulate adequate, effective policies and programs, okay, can be initiated and thus implemented. This is very important. And once you put all of these in place and build that strong cultural base, it gives the employees, like I said, an opportunity to voice their views. That culture audit helps your employees to open up. They feel that they're given the opportunity to speak their minds. Okay, so, and this is very important, because when people are given the opportunity to speak their mind, they are in the workspace, they work on the job, they interact with our customers, with our clientele base, so they can give us feedback. Okay, and in all, what is so important in building that enabling environment, that strong cultural practice-driven organization, is that it helps to motivate and retain talent. Okay, and as we say that from research, that 45% of employees who perceive the culture of the workplace to either be poor or unhealthy will start seeking new employers. So imagine, as an organization, you have over 40% of your workforce, being in that bracket of the probability of looking for other spaces. That means you are standing risk of having over 40% of your workforce leaving your organization for competition. And what will that do, to your profitability level? What will that even do to your sustainability objective as an organization? Okay, so cultural audit is very important. Okay, you need to find out, test the pulse of the organization, your communication style, your leadership style. Are there issues? Do they feel safe? Do they feel secure? Do they feel appreciated? How do you get them engaged? How do you get them motivated? So at the end, in the long run, you can retain your talented workforce. Now, another thing that you now have to do, now we've seen the need for cultural audits. What are those steps to take? What are those factors to consider when you are setting up a culture audit? Okay, it's not cast in stone, but I will share some views of what I think and what I know that has worked in other places. I have come up, I've actually deployed in other organizations on those factors that you should consider when you are setting up a culture audit. Now, the first step I'm going to talk about is you need to define your why. I'll take it again. The first thing is that you must define your why. So your why is, as an organization, what is your goal? As an organization, what is your vision? Are you continue the vision you had at the birth of the organization? Are you at a point that you are trying to transition, okay, to another vision? You are revisioning. Are you at that point in the organization? Okay. Now, it's important that you define your why, because your vision of organization is dictates where you are going as an organization. So it means that everything you'll be doing in the organization, in terms of your process, organogram, in terms of your policies, in terms of even your mission statement, this speaks to the how you are going to achieve your why, and even your strategic goals as an organization, both the short-term, medium, and long-term goals as an organization across various units, business unit function will depend on your vision. So you need to determine what your vision is, okay? And now that you know, once you have known what your vision is, your why are you in business? Why are we investing in this product? Why are we considering this service? Why are we investing in these regions? Why are we investing in this space? once you define your why, the next thing you need to do is now ask yourself, what kind of culture would enable the achievement of your vision? So whatever your vision is, you want to enlarge, be the market, share player in a particular field. You want to expand from your country to another continent. Whatever it is that your vision is, you need to write it down in black and white and ask yourself, what kind of culture would enable this? Is it innovation, innovative culture? Is it creativity? Is it team bond? Is it test for excellence? Whatever it is that would help you, enable you to achieve your vision, you need to sit down as an organization on how you want to achieve it. Define it, black and white. Now, the question that comes in, this is the expected culture that will drive achievement of this vision. I would say the second step is what I call delve further. Okay? Now, you need to delve further. Now, in delving further, in digging further, what you need to do to achieve it is to create a functional team. You must be well balanced. Now, you need to create a team. Now, why am I saying you need to create a team? You need to create a team because the people working in the organization know much more often than not, than you as a change leader. Now, so it means that you must bring everybody on board. You need to hear your people. You need to hear that perception of the culture, as it is, not as you think it is, as it is in the organization. So you must have a balanced team. What I mean is all your departments, relevant units, business functions must have representatives in that team. So for instance, I want to do my culture audit. I'm going to get people from accounting department, from my audit department, from my customer service, from my engineering department, from the national development, from the strategic department, from the protocol meeting. So whatever the key, units are, what is key to you? Wherever they are, you need to bring people from all of those key functional units to be part of that team. And when they are part of that team, okay, you can together, and what are you going to be doing? And that's why it takes me to my third point, is that what you are going to be doing with this team that you have set up is what I call data gathering. You must gather relevant information, okay? And you can gather relevant information from majorly different sources. Like I said, from your internal source, which includes your employees, which includes your heads of team, from your internal sources, then you gather this information from them. So you need to find out, what do they think the culture is? What are those cultural components of the organization, that are thriving? They know which ones are thriving. And what are those cultural components that they find challenging? Your team members, your people know those cultural components that are challenging. Okay? So it's very important that you have to gather your data as it is. Let us know what those cultural components are. It's very important. Now, that takes me to what I say, there are various ways of gathering data. And that's we would say that, I would say, draw up and administer what I call culture diagnostic tools. Okay? You need to diagnose what the culture is, and these you deploy tools because it helps you to do it in a scientific and systematic way. Okay? And the way you formulate these surveys, these questionnaires must be designed strategically, formulated in a way that you can elicit the right responses. This is very important. And some would ask, what kind of tools can you do? Well, what I've deployed over the years is that I come up with surveys. Okay? And I've also administered interviews, okay, even group chats. Now, the good thing about the surveys is that once it's anonymous, people get free to express their mind. Once it's anonymous, you don't have to put your name. I don't need your staff ID. What I need is, these questions around culture. And it should be couched in a way that does not look too direct. Okay, so if I want to test if the reporting lines are well delineated, I don't have to be right to say the reporting lines delineated, properly delineated. I can ask a question to say, okay, who do you report to? Who do we report to directly? One person, two people, two or more. So already I'm testing that line of command, and so, oh yes, this one person, I report to this person. So already I understand what the culture is. It will be couched in a way that people don't feel that they're in a box. So, and it must be simple. The language you're going to use in your survey, in admission your questionnaire, must be very simple. Okay? And please, once you make it anonymous, people feel free, to voice their views. Okay? Then for even sometimes, when you use your surveys, I would say also administer surveys, also carry out interviews. You know why? When you carry out interviews, it's either you have a balanced perspective. Sometimes some people will feel A, and you also try to test it in your interview questions to either see consistency. So you see some things will come out strong. That's the truth. You can administer a survey to like 50 people, but some strong themes will come out. That's the truth. And sometimes some people use what we call customer reviews. Let your customers review you, because you also need the perception of outsiders. How do they see you? How does your customer see you? How does the community, where your organizations, if you have more than one business unit in the place, how do they see you? How do they perceive you to be? Is very important. And some also use social media review. You see that a lot. You can just go there, just review, drop your review. People do that a lot. Then you get this feedback. Okay? Now, when you are carrying out setting up your culture audit, these are those steps that are very important. This will determine, how well you get the required components that you are going to need for reviewing your culture when necessary. Now, you have gathered this data, okay? It could be through your employees' opinion, you have administered your questionnaires, your surveys, you have carried out the group chat, the interviews, individual interviews, group interviews, you have done that. Even customer reviews have come in, and even the social media reviews have come in. So what do you do with this quantum of information that you have gotten? If you are just joining us, we are looking at guiding principles of leading change management. And the first one we're talking to is how do you lead the culture? And you're speaking a lot to culture. And we are now on the place where we are looking at the steps to setting up a culture audit. Okay, now data gathering. You have gathered so much data. Where do you go from it? So now that you have gathered your data, definitely the next step is for you to evaluate all of these findings. And now to evaluate, look at those things. That'll be very, very strong themes, and you see those trends. Now, for instance, like I said, one strong thing could even be leadership style. Okay? So you look around, you see that people are speaking to leadership style. So there could be a lot of, out of 50 people that you have administered some survey to, we have 35 or 40 speaking about ineffective leadership style. And you have 10 saying, well, they're neither here nor there. So it means that theme and that trend shows that there is a problem with your leadership. Communication issue. Out of a scale of maybe 100 respondents, you have 85 people speaking to barriers, to effective communication within your organization in terms of dissemination of information. So it means that is a theme, and you can see that trend. These are places, these are cultural challenges that you need to look at. Now, another thing could even talk about employee engagement. Do people feel appreciated? Do people feel that they are valued in the organization? So when you have issues around employee engagement, definitely you know that this is a theme and you have seen the trend. These are areas that you need to look into as a leader. Now, it's not just enough for you to evaluate all of these things. No, and some can actually, I would advise that do a report on this. where you look at those strong things, look at the trend. So it shows where you have gotten it right as an organization. It shows those cultural components that you need to work on where people find challenging. So, and people want feedback. Give your people feedback on the findings. You know why? Because the next time you are going to carry out a culture audit, if you do not give them feedback, they don't feel a part of that process. They don't feel value for their time and honesty. So the next time you are going to need them to carry out that culture, to fill the survey, questionnaire, or even interview, you not get the question. It's a ton of stuff. So please, you must give feedback on findings guidelines. Now, am I saying you give everyone organizational feedback that you have nominated to be in the team that you created initially, the step 2 that you giving feedback? Still on it, once you get your feedback, you must make changes based on your findings. And I know some of you might argue with me to say, can we make all the changes? The truth is, you cannot make all the changes at once, but you must be deliberate about it to show them what I say, start with the low-hanging fruits. Okay? So if people, for instance, have communicated that they did not get feedback when they send mails, you can just tweak it a little and say, okay, for customer complaints, okay, center, let's 24 hours, within 48 hours, you must respond to every mail that you get. That's a low-hanging fruit. You don't have to spend so much money on it. You can leverage your existing tool. It's still the same system. It's still the same Wi-Fi. As the case may be, it's still the same officer in charge. What you have just done is to say that, look, this person is in charge of feedback on every complaint gotten, and you have put a timeline to it. I call it the low-hanging fruit. So when people know that when they voice their views, probably through survey, questionnaires, interviews, group chat, when they know they have an organization that listens to them, it is going to enhance, foster an environment, a culture that will enable creativity, optimum productivity level. So like I said, you want to think about change, the first step is to consider the cultural practices of your organization. Don't think that to assess what your cultural company and ask you also to pinpoint what those cultural differences or challenges are that could inhibit you achieving your vision and your goals as an organization, and even as a change leader, as a leader that could hinder you, for implementing your change initiative efficiently and effectively. Okay, thank you so much for listening. It's so good that you were able to stay with us to the end. We'll draw the curtain here. Same time next week, we'll continue with the key guiding principles of leading change management. For feedback, questions, comments, kindly send to contact@thearmorgate.org. I'll take it again. If you have any question, feedback, comment from us, kindly send it to contact@thearmorgate.org, or you can send us a message or give us a call on our WhatsApp line +234 8079574151 +234 8079574151. Thank you for staying tuned. Hope you will join us again same time on Armor Gate Radio Communication. Till then.